So hello everyone, my name is Martinez and I am your Port Hueneme City Council member. Today I have with us our Honorable Mayor, Stephen Gama. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you. It's always nice to have a conversation.
Likewise, and I'm really excited because we haven't done one of these in a while, but like you mentioned, they're fun, right? It's really cool, and I'm expecting for us to just continue this series and just having more of these videos.
Right.
Is there anything specific that you want to talk about today?
Yeah, I think homelessness is a nationwide issue right now, and it's an issue that impacts us here in the city of Port Hueneme and impacts everybody nationwide. And so maybe we could talk about what is homelessness and what it isn't, and then what do we see here in the city of Port Hueneme.
Yeah, because I think that a lot of people think that, when you say homelessness, it's just like everybody's all in one category, right?
Yeah.
But everybody isn't always technically on the same boat, and their situation can always be a little bit differently. So can you explain a little bit of, what is homelessness?
My observation of it is kind of broad because when I worked at Oxnard Union High School District, every other year the homeless shelter was right next to my office. So I learned very clearly that some people had just recently been out of work and they're sleeping in their car, and the shelter opens up and they have a kid or two kids, and they come over and they're using those services to get back on their feet. Then there was another class of, quote, homeless people that would hang around the shelter to get the coffee or the free meal, but they weren't interested in complying, and so we would oftentimes find those people passed out behind our office, passed out in the walkway up into my door, passed out because of drugs or drinking, and we would find empty liquor bottles. So, and then we noticed some people that were like, almost like a vagabond, passing through the county and needed some place to live and recharge or sleep and recharge. And so those are the three categories that I became familiar with working next to the shelter in Oxnard. Here in Hueneme, we have a woman by the name of Janet, and I call her the model homeless citizen. And years ago, a neighbor friend of mine, Bucky, helped her get signed up with Social Security. So she receives funds every month, and she has it dialed in, and but she doesn't bother anybody, and she just sleeps. So I don't even know, all these years I've been trying to figure out where does this lady sleep, and I still don't know. But just about every day for the 24 years I've been living here in Hueneme, this lady, I see her almost every single day, and like I said, she doesn't bother anybody. She's really respectful, and but it's just her thing. She's an alcoholic, and she likes living on the beach or in and around the beach. Because again, I still don't know where she sleeps. Then there's another class of, quote, homeless people that are kind of vagrants passing through, maybe have some mental illness, and they find our city, Hueneme Beach, and they start hanging out here. And some of them we see them talking to themselves, and so these guys are kind of like troublemakers sometimes because they come in, they're looking for a come up, and breaking in cars or who knows what. And then here in our city as well, we look down the beach at Ormond Beach, and then there's the encampment of, quote, homeless people. And that's a whole different scenario. That's almost like a lifestyle that the people living out there have chosen, this lifestyle, which involves, in my view, I think it's crystal meth. And they live out there, and anything goes. It's a pretty rough and rugged environment. And those are the ones that have been causing grief for the city of Port Hueneme. And albeit they're in Oxnard, but they're on the border, and they migrate into the city and cause us issues from time to time. And they pollute the environment. They're living near a waterway, and it's quite distressful
And then it's not good for the birds and the animals in Gorman Beach, right?
Right.
Especially because they're supposed to be preserved and they're supposed to have a habitat
Right.
for them. I know when you were elected 2 years ago, there was a couple incidents that happened a couple months after you were elected, because I know you're a big advocate for, you know, doing something about that issue. And, you know, it just happened to be that a couple months after you were elected to the city council, a couple things happened, right?
Yeah, what was happening was that these lifestyle people that want to live off the grid at Ormond Beach, they were living on the Halico fenced-in area, and then they got moved out of there, and then they migrated to the island, which we call the island in Ormond Lagoon. Mm-hmm. And then in 2017, they got moved out of there, and then that's when they set their sights on the beach side of Ormond Lagoon, and they set up, gosh, there must have been like 37 highly sophisticated camps, and they were migrating closer and closer to the border of Oxnard and Hueneme, and they were accessing water and the shower and the facilities at Hueneme Pier, and so yeah, it became very, very detrimental to the well-being of beachgoers and people in the city of Port Hueneme. A lot of theft was being recorded at night and stuff, and so it was an Oxnard issue, but it was affecting the city of Port Hueneme. And it got to the point, and it was crazy, because the amount of waste and trash and syringes and just bad behavior was spilling over onto Hueneme Beach. And so when the springtime came and the weather started improving, you know, those numbers were just swelling out there with people like, hey, this is a really cool place. And it really is. I would love to go camping out at Ormond Beach. I mean, it's, you know, it's
I feel like there should be a campsite somewhere around here for normal people to just go and pay and actually, you know.
And that's an idea that I threw out there that kind of got shot down, stomped down, and people weren't too happy about it. But the thing is like, we have to take care of the environment. And we can't take care of the environment if we don't have a presence there. And if the only presence there is these lifestyle people that just want to live out there and abuse drugs, you know, then we lose it, and the environment loses, and the city loses. So, you know, to me, it's a good idea to have a organized presence where people pay money to come and walk the dunes and safely, and they have trails, they have a plan for trails for Ormond Beach, and just a whole wonderful place where people could come and enjoy the environment and pay a little money to maybe camp, and then you could have a park ranger, and then it would take care of itself. But right now, there's nobody out there except the people that are out there living. And as you know, because you've seen it, you've been out there with me, the amount of trash and disregard for the environment, it's just not acceptable. I mean, we just can't have syringes washing up on Hueneme Beach. We can't have it.
And the main focus is protecting the environment, correct?
Correct.
And also, I mean, additionally, we want to help the people that are out there too. The thing is, there are services for them, and right now, I just became aware that last night at Oxnard City's city council meeting, they approved to essentially use some of the care money to clean up the Halico site. You know,
move them out.
Yeah, move them out and clean it up. And one of my questions is, you know, is that going to work? Because I know they've done that in the past, and they've cleaned it up, and I know you were part of some of those movements of those cleanups, right?
Correct.
I think you had said something around 400 volunteers.
Yeah, one of the, in 2017, when this lifestyle spilled over to the beach and there was encampments galore, and not until a little dog named Sophie that was being walked by her owner, a lady in her 70s, really nice, sweet little lady walking her dog, and this drug-infused person from the camps out there came up and kicked her dog like a football, and people witnessed this, and not until that happened did the hammer come down. And so after that, the city of Oxnard, because again, and this was in the city of Port Hueneme, that when Sophie was assaulted, and the dog almost died and had, I think, $1,500 in medical bills. It was pretty crazy. But as a result of that, and there was a couple other instances too where these people were creeping on the junior lifeguard program. You know, we have hundreds of kids dressed in swimming suits on the beach, learning about ocean safety from our wonderful lifeguards on Hueneme Beach. And so these guys there was an incident before the dog being kicked where some lifeguards had to take a guy down. He had a knife, the police came, arrested him, and that was exposing our junior lifeguarders at risk. And so after that, the city of Oxnard, city of Hueneme, Oxnard PD, Hueneme PD, they all worked together, and they removed, I think, like 35 tons of trash. They were removing sinks, they were removing sophisticated lean-tos, and then after they did all that heavy work, then the California Coastal Cleanup was scheduled in September, and we had close to, if not more than 400 volunteers. It was amazing. We had all the kids from Hueneme Junior ROTC, and we had the police explorers. We had multiple classes from various elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, and we were attacking that area where all these people were living. And we removed, I think we had 10 dumpsters out on the beach for that cleanup, and we filled them all up. So
10 of the big dumpsters?
No, the littler ones.
Oh,
because
okay.
we drive them out on the beach, and then we could access them.
Yeah, because it's also not that easy to get to there, right?
No,
it's
about
not
a half
easily
mile
accessible.
long. Yeah.
I know. I was reading an article where it's even difficult for, I guess, police to get there, right?
Yep.
I mean, they can't drive up in their cars, right?
Right. They need an all-terrain vehicle. So I think Brian McDonald said it best last night. You know, there is no one solution for these problems, and yes, every now and then somebody caught up in that lifestyle will desire no mas. You know, I want better for myself. But the problem is that crystal meth is a brain damaging drug. So as I understand it, crystal meth causes brain damage from the first time all the way through whatever use whether you're snorting it, smoking it, injecting it, whatever you're doing with it, it causes brain damage. And I think that we've seen in some of the people that we become familiar with in and around here, we see that where like there's no coming back from this brain injury, and it literally is a brain injury. Like I told you the other day, I know a couple of these guys by name that live out there, and they come in and get coffee. But there's this one guy, Dino, and Dino's a nice guy. You know, I asked him, what goes on out there on Ormond Beach? He goes, you would not believe the stuff that goes on there. Girls come out there for drugs and this and that. And I go, well, what do you do out there? He goes, I'm just an alcoholic. That's my thing. I go, well, would you accept services if they're offered to you? No. I have a place that I could go live to right now if I wanted to. Well, why don't you want to do that? I'm an alcoholic. That's my thing. I like to drink vodka every morning and throughout the day. And so, and this Dino guy, he's been here 5 years now. You know, he's still out there. And, but that's his lifestyle, that's his choice. I mean, he has a place to go. He has a family that would take him in, but they won't take him in if he's using alcohol. And so that's just one story. Everyone has a story out there, I'm sure.
And they're at the helical site, right? And that's private property. That makes it kind of difficult for us to go in there, right? And clean it up. So I'm not really sure how Oxnard's gonna do it, but why haven't the owners of the site been contacted, or have they been contacted?
They've been contacted ad nauseum, from what I understand. They're like bitter for some reason. Who knows what their problem is? But you know, you have that Helico site, which is a Superfund site, which the EPA is involved in, and it's a lot of government agencies, the California Coastal Commission. So it's very difficult to make forward movement on that, because as we know, it is one of the most beautiful places around. I mean, it really is. And yeah, it's next to the wastewater treatment facility, and there's an industrial paper mill there. That's fine, but at the end of Perkins Road, I mean, it's a beautiful place, and it could be turned around to something positive where people would come. I mean, just the bird, the bird population out there is just amazing and stunning, and we've seen some birds.
It's really nice, and we've seen a lot of different birds, and it's just like you said, it's beautiful.
Yeah, and it's beautiful, but somehow it was allowed to get to this point, and so when they move those people off the site, what's left behind is literally tons and tons and tons of rubbish, human waste, chemicals, all kinds of stuff. And so, we have to, and we just have to be honest with ourselves that some of these people aren't going to accept help. Some of these people, and then what do you do? Do you give them a place and say, I've often said kind of tongue in cheek, like, just put them in a place where they're not near a waterway or ocean, so that, and then give them a dumpster. Maybe they could self-regulate themselves, but that's probably asking way too much. But there is no one solution, but one story at a time. If you can help one person, that'd be great. So back to the question about homelessness, you won't find a guy with his wife and couple kids living out at Ormond Beach. That, someone that just recently lost their job. Oh, hey honey, let's go to Ormond Beach and set up camp out there. No, that's not what's going on out there. What's going on out there is it's a lifestyle choice, and that place fits into the lifestyle these people have chosen. And some people don't last too long out there. It's kind of, from what I understand, they have a hierarchy. And there's one guy out there that calls himself the mayor. And
wow.
Yeah, and then so when the weather gets good, then that's when younger women come out there. I've talked to a couple women about their experience out there, and they tell horrifying stories. And so I, like everyone else, we're concerned about our fellow human beings, and we all know there's all those sayings, you can take a horse to the trough, you can't make it drink, and until somebody's ready for help, they're not going to accept help. And then, unfortunately, the saddest thing about this whole dilemma is some of these people are way beyond help because they're so damaged. The brain is so damaged that there's no coming back.
Yeah, and because of all of that, that's why it's a sensitive subject. I just don't really want to see our youth going to the beach and seeing some of those things, whether it's someone kicking a dog or scaring individuals or them throwing their trash on our beach and just, trashing our area. I think they still have to be held accountable.
Right.
One way or another.
Right, and look at the experience that they've had thus far, and I commend every government official, every government program for trying, and what's good for one person isn't good for another. But at the Vagabond experiment, where they're putting some of these individuals up, they have problems, and the problem is that you're trying to get people to follow rules, and that's just not part of who they are. I mean, they're going to do what they're going to do, and so it's a terrible, terrible problem. And recently I went to LA, downtown LA, to do the virtual Stranger Thing tour. Mm-hmm. It was kind of cool. But the crazy thing about it was you would see these beautiful buildings that have been refurbished for apartments, and they're beautiful, and then right around the corner they're homeless encampments on the sidewalk for as far as you can see. And so in LA, if you really want to feel good about what we're dealing with down here, to go to downtown LA and see what's going on there. Go to Skid Row. I mean, I did a job a couple years ago for the VA in downtown LA, and that's like literally right there in Skid Row. And I was appalled. Like, I couldn't believe the amount of humanity there living in the squalor, and it's just amazing, like so crazy.
And it's not just in LA. I know I was in San Francisco a couple months and I saw the same thing. And this is essentially a world problem. I've talked to people from India. It happens pretty much everywhere you go, right?
Yeah.
But you do have some good ideas, and I think one of the things that we wanted to accomplish in this video is, bring awareness, and then hopefully we can attract the right people to contact us and see if they can, let us know how they can participate and how they can help, and maybe throw out some ideas. I think the more ideas that get bounced around, the more action that's going to be taking place. And
I think the most important thing is when you see someone down on their luck, try and help them out. And I don't mean give them $10. I would never do that. I'll buy them a meal, but try to help them out. Try and have a conversation and see if there's something you could lead them to. Because we met, who was that kid we met? Wisconsin?
Yeah.
Or Missouri.
Missouri.
He called himself Missouri.
Yeah, Missouri.
I mean, what a cool guy, He was articulate, and then when we asked him, how come you don't go to a shelter? Because there's too many drugs there. Remember he said that?
Yeah, and I was so thankful that he just came out and helped us out. I didn't even realize he was homeless till my brother mentioned something, and he's like, hey, I don't think he has a home. He just came out to help, and so I know I was just really thankful that he helped us out. I bought him a meal,
but he was a very capable person.
Yeah.
And he had a hard. I think his story was that he was abused by a parent and he just ran away, and he's been on the streets for 10 years.
I think that's why, we have services for people, but I think we just kind of have to keep pushing those services, because I've heard that sometimes they try the service and it doesn't work, and so they feel like, okay, it didn't work for me, it's never gonna work, but they're gonna have that moment where they're gonna want to at least give it one more shot. And so we need to be ready so that when they do come to us asking for help, we know what those services are. And this is one of the reasons why I feel like every individual should know what services are available and should be able to provide these services to them, at the moment that they need them. At least that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. Well, it starts, addiction is a major component of this. I mean, let's just be honest, and so trying to intercede in addiction problems, it's all about timing. And this crystal meth is such a bad societal reality. I mean, it's bad. And, these poor people, and they're somebody's son and daughter. They have a mom, they have brothers, they have, and maybe perhaps their family has just given up on them. But when you're entrenched into that lifestyle, there's a point of no return, and unfortunately, that's what it appears to be out there at Hueneme Beach. They're at the point of no return, and so it makes it more difficult. I mean, that's just the bottom line.
And hopefully, we're ready for when they do clean up that site, so that there's a possibility that they're going to be coming towards our city, right?
And it happened. It happened when we did the major cleanup in 2017. And our PD was very good in, moving them along. But the sad reality is like it's like sand. You could sweep it over here, and then the wind comes and blows it over there. And then you go over there and you clean it up, and then the wind changes direction and blows it over there. So if anyone thinks they have the solution, then there isn't one solution. There's trial and error. It's almost like cancer treatment. What works on one person doesn't necessarily work on the next person, and you have to be agile enough to try to make a connection and get somebody.
That's why I kind of feel like we have to have a variety of services, because maybe one service might not work, and then a different one might. And this is why I also think we need to have more people just being out there, lending a hand. And again, like I said, not necessarily giving them money, because I also don't feel like that's a solution. Some of them I've witnessed, they're just taking, and that just kind of keeps them comfortable. And I don't think that we're finding the solution. If anything, we're feeling the problem by giving them money. They use that money for drugs, they use that money for other things, and they don't necessarily use it wisely.
Yeah.
Right?
I have a nephew that's was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and my brother has spent so much time with his son, and I think it might even be a miracle, but I think it's more so the effort that my brother put in to get his son to understand his condition. And if you were to meet my nephew, you would know, because he takes his medication, and he's very aware, very smart. And to hear him talk about his illness, it's so refreshing, because he could describe to you the things he experiences when he gets chemically imbalanced, and you have to adjust your meds as you get older. I mean, your body changes constantly, and schizophrenia is basically the filtering system of your brain doesn't work anymore, so you can't distinguish between background noise and something in your head. That's a real easy way to describe it. But so it's all about getting that filter activated and working as close to the way it's supposed to work as possible. So when you see a person on the street talking to himself, pretty clear that he's suffering from schizophrenia or some mental illness that's out of control. It's not controlled. And then when you mix mental illness with drugs and alcohol, then it compounds the problem and makes it worse. And we hear stories of all the time where a guy finally gets on his meds and he's feeling really good, and then he decides, well, I don't need them anymore. Now I'm going to go drink a beer, and now I'm going to go party, and then it's all downhill from there. And so some people are on these vicious cycles of, they're doing well, and then they think they don't need it anymore. But again, talking to my nephew, man, so the point of that, it's very inspirational to know that you can have a productive life, but you have to manage your life. And when I see these people on the streets, I think about my nephew and how lucky and wonderful his father has been to him, and it shows, because he's capable. He could talk to people about his illness, and he's got it under control. But when you see someone on the street who clearly is out there, your heart breaks, because there's nobody there helping him. And I don't even know if we have a way to help somebody who's mentally ill on the streets. What do you do? Is there a program for that person, or
Yeah, no, we don't know, but we're gonna figure it out, and we're not telling people to go out and actually, approach these people. But if you ever do feel like it's coming from the bottom of your heart and you want to give a helping hand, go ahead and do that. That's what we recommend you do. And if you have any questions or comments, we recommend that you guys leave a comment in this video. Go ahead and give it a like. I want to give you thanks, Mayor Gama, for being here today, and hopefully we can have more of these videos. I have a great time talking to you, and I know you have a lot of great stories. And so just thank you so much for being here, and any last minute words?
I think it's important to have conversations. I mean, we all need to converse more these days.
Even just letting it out.
Yeah, and we're frustrated, and you may not always agree with the person that you're discussing it with, but the bottom line is to have a dialogue, have a conversation, and realize, there's an area that you could work on. Maybe it's not the area that I want to work on, but that's what happens when a community comes together and tries to help the areas that need help, is that different people step up in the scenario. The situation may be different, and hopefully we could enjoy some successes along the way. So.
Yeah, that would be great. And so, as
an educator, what would you say to a youngster right now? Like, take care of yourself, get your education and you
No,
know,
of course. Have hope, have faith. You know,
do the right thing.
do the right thing.
Take
Work
care
on
of
yourself.
Yeah.
And then when you do feel ready, like you can help someone out, just go ahead and do it. And because you know when you help someone else out, you're really helping yourself out because we're helping everyone else on this planet, and that's what we want to do. We want to see the world helping each other out. And again, thanks for watching. Thank you, Gama, for being here. And
Thank you.
I appreciate you very much.
Thank you very much. We'll see you again.
Thanks.